You guys are going to have to share that one microphone. And I have a list of questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I'll be roving around, so if you have a question, just tap me. But one of the first questions that I have is, like, you guys have worked together for 25 years with Heidelberg. That's a long time, but I want to get started with how y'all met and how this just evolved. Like, y'all married and stuff. I want to talk about that too, right? So how did that happen?
Well, everybody knows I turned down Heidelberg Street in June of 1993 and actually rolled down my window, and there are no kids here, I think, and I literally said to Tyree, what in the hell is all of this? And the truth is I do recall thinking that he needed to get a job. I thought that he had too much time on his hands, and I was going to straighten him out.
That's good. Boy, you make me laugh, Janine. You know, when I first met Janine, can I tell them? Yeah, I didn't like her.
Tell it, Tyree.
Sherry, I thought your sister was arrogant, and I said, who the hell is this woman? And so I told her to get out the car and look around, and that's how we met. But it was something about her that caught my attention. And I said to her that I thought she was an angel. I thought she was special. So yeah.
I want to talk about how it sort of evolved from that, right? You eventually became the executive director of the Heidelberg Project. Y'all eventually got married. I mean, that was cute, but I want the details. Yeah.
The juicy stuff.
The juicy stuff.
I started bringing people to see Tyree. When he told me to get out of the car and check it out, I did get out. And I started asking him these questions, and it wasn't like he was saying anything all that deep. But what I did see were these kids who were clamoring around him for his attention. And the kids were, you know, they were kids from the neighborhood, and they didn't want money, they didn't want candy, they wanted a paintbrush. And so I found that interesting. But what really was a turning point was when Tyree handed me a correspondence. Well, he gave me a stack of stuff. And it was all these correspondences that were going unanswered. Keep in mind, this is right after the 1991 demolition. So it had already been a demolition. Tyree's grandfather had passed. And 92. So the demolition happened in 91. Sam Mackey passed in 92. And then I met Tyree in 93. And when I got the stack, he had letters from Germany, but the one that stood out was a letter from Oprah Winfrey. And she was inviting Tyree to come back on the show after he had been on the show in 1991. And that's when I kind of started blowing the dust off of this old raggedy computer in my basement, and I began crafting these very corporate responses to all of these inquiries, and it did not work.
I also said to Janine, I'm thinking about that first day I met you. I said, what do you do? And she said that she worked at the bank. And I said to her, I said, you make money for other people? And she said, yes. And I said, why don't you come and make money for me?
He did say that in 1993, and I just thought, what in the world? I don't even know what I stepped into. That was 25 years ago. It's hard to believe.
And so you were successful in the baking industry, Dr. Whitfield, and you sort of left all of that behind. What was the impetus for that? What happened that you said, okay, I'm forsaking all of this and I'm going to focus my energy and attention on this project?
It was about a year that I decided to give up 14 years of profit or seniority, profit sharing, insurance, all those things that make you feel comfortable in life. And I felt deep down in my soul, I really and truly felt like this was a man who was doing something fantastic. People were writing him from all over the world, and Oprah was trying to get him to come back on the show. He obviously was doing something. And what I really felt was that Tyree had built a house without a foundation. And so it was about using my skills, organizational skills, banking skills, and some of the things that I had learned to try and help build a foundation under him. And he had a board of directors that had founded the organization in 1986, and I'm going to put them on the spot because 2 of them are in the audience right now. This is such evidence and proof of the longevity of Heidelberg, but I would like Randy Paschke and May Jackson to stand up. They were before me. That's right. They had already organized the nonprofit in 1988. Heidelberg Project has been a nonprofit since 1988, and they had organized that, right?
That's true. Something else just came to my mind. I said to Janine, what are you giving back? Yeah. And I think that did.
Yeah, I forgot about that. See, now you see how he always gives me the mic? Now y'all know why I talk so much. See, the truth is, this was the turning point. This was the most important thing, Orlando, is Tyree asked me that question. He asked me, how was I giving back to the community? And I was pissed because I'm the one with the job, paying taxes. You're the one out here playing with this junk, And so I really was kind of pissed off about that, but it gnawed at me because I really couldn't answer how I was giving back to the community. Yeah, I had a job. Yeah, I was taking care of my family. My daughter was like 3 years old at the time. I had just bought a new house. I had a brand new car. I had all that stuff. But I couldn't answer that question. And so that was actually a defining moment and a turning point. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Something else just came to my mind. She asked me, what would make you put polka dots all over a house? And I said, or you said, no, I said, well, why would a contractor paint a house one color? Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and I said because it's supposed to be one color.
And I said, really?
Yeah. And yeah. So what Tyree did was he disturbed my sense of comfort. Everything that happened when I first met Tyree, first of all, he asked if we could take a drive to some place that I had never been. And he took me to Belle Isle. And I'm like, I've been to Belle Isle 100 times, right? Because my parents used to take us there, my father, when we were taking my mother to work. But he took me to a part of Belle Isle I had never seen. I had never seen the lighthouse. I had never walked that path. I had never really appreciated the beauty of Belle Isle, the way he showed me through his eyes. And then we were having these conversations, and I began to see things through new eyes. Then he introduced me to a homeless man. He's dead now.
He fixed dinner for us.
Yeah, he fixed dinner for us in a jar. He made some moonshine in a jar. And he said, what was my name? And I said, my name is Janine. And he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm a loan officer. And then he said, well, okay, let me tell you something, Miss Lawyer. I said, no, I'm a loan officer. He said, it's the same thing. So we had experiences like that. What he did was he took me off of this trajectory, and this is the reason why I said I've had butterflies for 25 years.
When I first started the project, and Janine said it earlier, the business side of it, I didn't care about that. I didn't care about the foundation, and I knew it was going to take someone that knew something about business to help to move this project forward. And I saw that in Janine. I would also say that Janine, oh God, we have had some incredible
Fights?
Oh yes.
Oh man.
And she can fight.
So you talk about building this foundation and infrastructure that was missing, and I'm going to move on from this, but I'm back here. I know everybody's looking at. I'm roving around just in case people have questions and want to get on the microphone. Where was it the foundation for the marriage and the love affair that you two will share was that being built simultaneously? How did that happen? And then I'm gonna move on because you all have an amazing business partnership, but you also are life partners, and I want to explore that a little bit.
I would say yes to that. The business side of it, our relationship, and your uncle James. Sure, your Uncle James told me that if we didn't get married, he's going to shoot me. Yeah, so that put the fear of God in my heart. Yeah. Janine is special, and we have something in common. Our birthday are in August. Mine's the 24th and hers the 29th. So we have a lot in common. Janine is very interesting. When I cook, I clean up behind myself too. As I cook, Janine cooks, and I'm supposed right there wash the dishes. I mean, I cook and wash dishes, and you cook and don't wash dishes, right? Explain that to them.
I'm busy. I'm just busy. That's all I can say. I will say to you guys that Tyree is nothing like the Heidelberg project that you see. And I know there are a few of you in the audience that know about this. He's extremely neat. His shoes have to always be polished. He was in the Army. He cooks very well, and he cooks like his art. It's kind of very different. Like we'll have pork chops with orange slices on top or stuff like that. Very unique, and he loves to iron. So he irons all of our clothes. This is a fact. Very, very, very neat. So that makes living with him easier.
I just wanted to add something to...
This is my sister, I want you to know.
Okay, but I want to add something to the shift from corporate America to coming on board with the Heidelberg Project, because you have to understand, especially with African American families, a sense of security is paramount. And it was a huge struggle to bring the entire family along this journey with her giving up her insurance, her everything to go around the world with this man. However, there are a few cheerleaders, and I'm the head of that squad.
And so is my father, who, by the way, some of you know he's ill, but he's doing better. Because he keeps doing this 1, 2, 3, like he's fighting. And so he's doing better. That makes me feel good.
That's great for you.
There's a spiritual side to Janine. And Janine said something to me one day. She said, well, what about your spiritual man? Feeding it. And she invited me to attend a class with her. And I said to her, I said, what the hell is this? And that changed my life. Because what she said to me, she said, what are you looking for in life? And I had to really think about that. And I said, I'm on this quest to understand truth. And she said, how do you do that if you don't have this knowledge? And so she began to expose me to the Institute of Divine Metaphysics. And we began to explore. And we would have these sessions in our home, and one thing led to another. And I would say to you guys today, I've come to understand happy wife, happy life. I also said to her that when I come back in my second life, Can I tell them? You show it? I told her I'm coming back as her.
I love it. We got one question back here. I'm going to get to this question. Okay.
Hello. My name is Sarah. I'm not from here. I'm from New York, and I'm a maker and a scholar. And as someone who's an immigrant and the child of immigrants, what's been very important for me is to learn about the history of the place where I now inhabit. And so that means knowing about Native American culture and the sacrifices that enslaved Africans made in this country so that I could be here, so that my parents could come here in 1966 after the passage of the Immigration and Nationality Act, that then allowed a wave of newer immigrants to come and make this place their home, and subsequent people. So I always start with my work in acknowledging that. And what I'm learning from seeing how you both walk in the world in community is, how do you inscribe narratives of invisible histories and invisible peoples and invisible cultures and people on the margins, whether you're a woman or a woman of color, whether you're a person of color, and you are not in the Western canon. That is the dominant canon that tells us who we are and how we are and defines us consciously and unconsciously. And so I'm grateful for yet another example, and there's millions all over the world of people doing the work. And there should be social services, there should be institutions that support this. But what you do is, despite that, survive and thrive and create beauty. And so I take it as another example of people in communities raging into beauty, because I have a lot of anger. And for many years, it didn't allow me to be creative. And so one thing that I do that's helpful for me is I call, when I'm working, I say I'm raging into beauty. I'm going to create something beautiful. I'm going to inscribe those narratives that are forgotten, that don't exist, women's narratives that were never written, never inscribed, but are there. And so the only way I know to move forward is to, okay, begin inscribing today. Begin inscribing the stories. Use other narratives. Be inspired, but not appropriate. And so I want to thank you for that and the possibility to be here and be in your presence. And if there's any comments you would have about going forward and what you envision and what you want to give to the rest of us to continue raging against the machines that want to deny us our humanity.
That was really a mouthful, but I want you to know I followed it all. And I want to say, I know this is going to sound goofy and very corny, but I'm going to say it anyway. People make the world go round, not things. So then, if you prick any one of us in here, guess what we're going to bleed? Red. What we do is we get tripped out on the exterior. We get so tripped up on what we see, and we forget who we are. And this has always got to be my message, because it is the question I asked Tyree. I said, who are you without the Heidelberg Project? You know, and if it's all swept away today, who are you? Are you swept away with it? So that must mean that the things are just here to try and teach us. They're tools. But the real essence, the real beauty of who we all are is what's inside of us. It is the attributes. Those attributes being wisdom, intelligence, knowledge, love, beauty, justice, foundation, power, and strength. That is who we really are. And that's all I have to say about that.
Like Forrest Gump.
My grandfather said to me, he said he could see the wind blow. And I would say to you that for the last 32 years, I've been on this incredible journey. I've been known to say that I hear it, and it started when I was a kid. I knew I wanted to be an artist, but my family said to me, they said, no, don't go to art school. And I said, why? And he said, well, those artists, they are crazy, they're homosexual, they smoke dope, and I said, I want to meet those people. My grandfather also said to me that it's important for me to stay true to myself. So this journey of meeting Janine and being exposed to the Institute of Divine Metaphysics and learning something about my Creator, I believe that we are all here for a divine purpose. And back in 1986, when I had that epiphany, and I saw the Heidelberg Project in my mind, something bigger than me propelled me to go out there and to do it. It's kind of like a butterfly. You don't ask any questions to become a butterfly. You become that. And that's what I've been doing for the last 32 years, becoming this butterfly. No one has the power to make you feel small or to stop you or to get in your way, because you have the power within to rise above that. You are what you think. And I read something last night, Frederick Douglass. Let's see if I can repeat this. No struggle, no progress. So you need a good fight. And life will give it to you.
So Tyree, you can we clap it up right there? I think that's a good place for it. That's great. You mentioned your grandfather, and I want to talk about him for a minute, Mr. Sam Mackey, and why he was so influential in your life, even from giving you your first paintbrush at the age of 9. Can you talk about him a little bit?
You're taking me way back. Yeah. Hi, Grandpa. Yeah, he's up there. And I'm looking out in the audience with Susan and Charles, and then there's Randy back there and Maine Jackson. Grandpa Mackey, excuse me, was special. He said he could see the wind blow. He said he knew everything because he was almost 100. And it was him that gave me a paintbrush at the age of 9. And he said to me that he saw something in me. And I remember those last days of his life when he was in the hospital. He said to me, he said, don't stop, no matter what. Don't stop. I saw the way he took care of my grandmother. He loved to cook. And he had a lot of girlfriends too in his old age. He had a lot of girlfriends. You know, a guy being in his 90s, and so people would come over to the project to visit us, and he met a lot of people. But it's because of him that I'm sitting here today. It's because of what he put in me. A burning desire to change that neighborhood, the community, and to show the world through art what's possible. Grandpa Mackey.
It's so important for little black boys to have someone that looks like them to encourage them the way that your grandfather encouraged you at such a young age. I want you to tell this story because it's one of my favorite things that I ever read. And it's the story behind the soles of the shoes and the story that your grandfather told you that inspired a lot of the art that we see with the shoes on Heidelberg. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think it's powerful.
My grandfather grew up in St. Louis, in the South. And I remember when they were sitting on the porch and he told me the story. He was talking about seeing people hanging from trees. And I said to him, I said, well, what did you actually see? And he said that he saw their souls moving, swaying in the wind. And I never forgot that. He also told me something else too. And man, he also shared with you a lot of the story. He said that when he was in Chicago, because he was traveling, and he also played the piano. He said he also played for Al Capone.
I just want to add to that history that narrative on Heidelberg Street is true of most all of the works on Heidelberg Street. Although it looks whimsical, it looks flimsy, you ask, what was the intention behind creating that? So even though the history is seeing the souls of the people swinging in the wind, that's the history. But today what it means for us is that we're lifting up the soul of the community. So I just want to say that that's the significance of it today with the shoes hanging in the trees.
Awesome, awesome. I've got a question over here.
Quick question about Heidelberg 3.0. And it was a meeting that we had a couple years ago. Janine said, I think Tyree said he's going to pack it up. And I think as 3.0, as this transition happens, you guys have been pretty open today, and I'd be interested to learn about the story. I think you told me you guys were on Belle Isle when he said, maybe we just pack it up. Maybe it was at that same lighthouse, I'm not sure. But that's what recalled it for me. So you guys talk about that conversation that you had and going through the transition of 3.0 and actually the wind in that sail.
Yeah, it started with the fires, and let me back up. I was living in Switzerland, and I remember this night I dreamt that the Heidelberg project was on fire before the fires. And so then I packed up, came back home, and we started having a series of fires. And Janine wouldn't come with me when I got the phone calls early in the morning. She didn't want to see it, She couldn't deal with it. And we had a series of 12 fires, and I said, damn, what the hell's going on here, And so trying to figure it out, and I said, I can't make sense of this here. And Janine and I decided to take a ride, and we went out to Belle Isle. We would go there a lot, Jesse, and hang out. And then it came to me. Take it apart. Do something very radical. And then Janine and I, we began to talk about it and began to play with it, and so here we are today. Somewhat. Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, here we are. So many thoughts. I mean, I don't know what you say.
Well, Tyree always says that his message is in his paintbrush, and that I was the vocal cord. There's a significance of that in the scriptures. It was Moses and Aaron. Aaron was the spokesman for Moses, wasn't he, Doc? You know the scriptures, I know you do. But we are one, if you can understand what I'm saying. Those fires were calling into question everything we knew, stood for, and they kept coming. There's one thing to have one fire. It might even be one thing to have 4 fires. But every time the phone rang after midnight, it was just hard to describe what that was like. We were in anguish. I just want to be really clear. I know how it may have appeared, but we were in anguish and grief, and always hoping that it wasn't going to be, a fire wasn't going to hit a home where people lived in. But it never did, so we knew that they were targeting Tyree. We knew that they were targeting the message. And then when that happened, recovery was different. We had only a few people that could really come and support and help. We didn't know what to do. Because who's ever created a Heidelberg project before? Do we have cameras? What do we do? It was just maddening. And we didn't have real money to do the kinds of things that maybe someone in a situation like that could have done. So of course what was coming into question at this time is, can we survive? Is this still relevant? So we went through a process of questioning. The fires happened in 2013, 2014. In 2014 and 2015, we're all in a state of, what are we going to do? And so it was on a day when I was talking to a foundation, and she said to me, she said, Janine, I almost don't like my own job because I want to help you, but I've got to go before a board of people who don't understand what you're going through and try and get you money. And she said, quite frankly, I think I'm leaving the foundation world. And she did. She couldn't help me. She couldn't help us. We didn't know what we were going to do. So we did go back to the lighthouse. And it's funny that that happened to be where we went for another defining moment. And it wasn't exactly Tyree. He said, I think I'm going to start pedaling back. I have taken the elevator up to the 30th floor, and now I'm going to come down. And the idea is that the Heidelberg project was going to go away, it was going to go away at his hand. And that started the process of the transformation and the 3-year period that we needed to make this come alive. Because Tyree focuses on letting work speak to him. It's probably one of the most honest things I have ever seen, is a man to truly let his work speak to him. He does not operate from a plan. We all lose our mind, don't we, Andy? Trying to figure out how to get Tyree to fall into a plan, but it doesn't work like that.
And you know what? 2 + 2 = 8. That's right, make it up. Hey, Jesse, also I want you to know too that myself, in those houses, there was a lot of artwork, and so along with the structures going up in flames, a lot of my artwork went up in flames, a lot of it. And oh, I was crazy, man, there. Oh, God, I was crazy. I was mad at God, mad at the world, mad at government. And I started asking these questions. Who said, who's doing this? And I started hearing so many things. So many things. And then people also said that perhaps Tyree Guyton is doing it. You know, I heard that too. And then I heard there was a city government. And it was this person and that person. But it came to me. Take it apart. Start painting these clocks. And start putting these clocks up there. Because what I heard is your time to do something greater. What do I mean by that? Take it apart in a methodical way. And Janine mentioned it. It's kind of like the elevator concept, the elevator theory, where here I am on this elevator and I'm going to take it from the ground floor up 30 stories and stop for a minute and to look around and then take it down, floor by floor. And as I'm taking it apart, I see something incredible. Yes. And I felt that the timing was perfect to do it now. And they've been going this way, so go that way now. 2 + 2 = 8. Heidelberg Olive 3.0. Give these guys a new canvas, clear it out, and then let them explore new possibilities. Janine Whitfield and her team. And also I want you guys to know that Janine became the president of the Heidelberg project because I decided I was going to step down so I could do shows and create projects all over the world now. So Janine and her team, and I have the utmost confidence in Janine to take it to the next level. And I'm so glad, Janine, I want to say this to you, I'm so glad that your team consists of all women. Power to the women.
Not exactly. I do have a staff of all women, but I want to just say, I got to give my brothers a play because we have some wonderful, wonderful, amazing people that help make this possible. Our board of directors, many of them are here from different cities. One of us got a baby back there. Candace, raise your hand. Candace is from New York. She's on our board. Andy Stern, raise your hand. I want you to know who our team is. It's so important. Jules Pope, raise your hand. These are people who are supporting us. Everybody can't be here. Jesse and Rula. We own this building with Jesse and Rula. So other partners that we meet along the way. And also really walking the talk. When we talk about it being universal and it being about all people, we're also demonstrating that. You know what I mean? We are demonstrating that. And that's important. We need to be there now. This is 2018, we still talking about race. It's so boring.
Janine is also my worst critic. So a lot of times when I'm being asked to do something, I talk to her. And oh my goodness, she has a way of pushing me to think that I can fly. Yeah. And I love that about you, dear. Yeah. She's got that, that magic touch. Yeah.
Y'all go ahead now.
Oh.
Look at Black Love. Black Love. Listen, I want, you mentioned the 2 + 2 + 8, and I'm all over the notes, but I really want you, equals 8, I'm sorry. I really want you to unpack that. What's behind that? What does it mean? We've been hearing it. Some people probably get it, some don't. Can you tell us what that is?
It's a theory that I have been playing with and I kind of made it up. And it's part of, you know, what's happening, the change. And it just came to me after the fires. I decided to take one of the sites and to recreate something on that site, and then I start calling it 2 + 2 = 8. And so then the world said to me, well, what do you mean? And I said, you got to make it up. You got to make it up. You got to create your own reality for you. And so I made it up. I love when I get kids to come over, and I had some kids Thursday that came over, and I said to them, I said 2 + 2 = 8, and the little kids, one of the little kids said to me, no, it equals 4. And I said, no, I'm a big kid, so for me it equals 8. And I love arguing with kids. I do. So it's my way of making it up. It's my way of saying that I'm going to do something that's never been done before. I'm going to take a site that, you know, was bad at one point, and I'm going to create some magic. I'm going to create something new on that same site. I had a great time talking with, hey Andy, you're going to love this, man. When I was talking to those architects, and they said, you can't build on that foundation. And I said, yes, you can. And they said, what do you mean? I said, 2 + 2 = 8. Let's make it up. That's what I mean.
Janine, as these concepts and stuff come out of Tyree's head and he's explaining them to you, how do you react? Are you like, I don't know about that one. That one may work, that one will not work, or is it, you know, tell us what that process is like.
All day long. Let me just tell you, when I tell you that we talk every day, that's how we start our day, because there's always so much going on. We talk every day. But I got it. I got 2 + 2 = 8 because Tyree, first of all, he created a reality that everybody says, what in the world? Everybody else said that. I don't know if everybody, maybe some people say, oh, I love this, I get this. I don't know. But I will say that the idea of a Heidelberg project, it didn't make sense.
That's right.
It didn't really make sense. It defied everything that I thought was supposed to make sense. So when he says 2 + 2 = 8, it doesn't make sense, but it does. Because life doesn't make sense.
Sometimes.
Right. And also because you do have to make things up. Remember how I said yesterday, not hate, but I don't really enjoy typically the way it's done. Typically the way it's done. That always suggests that there's not a new way, or there's not a new day. And I like to think that in 2018, we need to be making up a whole bunch of stuff based on the way our government is going. We need to flip it, totally. And I like the word revolution. So 2 + 2 = 8 makes sense to me. Heidelbergology makes sense to me. There is a science, there is a method to what we're doing. It all makes sense now.
Can you talk about selling these concepts? Janine, you were talking a little bit earlier about having a conversation with a foundation program. I'm right here. A program officer. One of the things that occurred to me is that the people that's okaying the release of resources often have no connection to who the resources are supposed to affect. How do you make the case with some of these abstract concepts and ideas to gain more resources for this project?
I don't know. I make it up. 2 plus 2 is 8. I tell stories. I try to put those stories down. Is Jessica here? Jessica is the grants manager for the Heidelberg project. How do we do it?
I'm coming, Jessica. Hold on.
We make some of it up, but we're growing and understanding how we can measure things, not necessarily quantify them, but there's a lot of qualitative information. Those stories in particular are very impactful, and so we use that a lot in our writing, in our discussions with funders. But it takes a lot of massaging with those stories to get there, because, you know, it's a level of understanding that people have to get to eventually, and we have to walk hand in hand with them. So
Because they want typically how it's done.
yeah. But we're also learning too, so we're collecting information that they'll find valuable. So, yeah.
And then also, every now and then, they bring funders over to talk to me. And this one particular time, someone came from the Knight Foundation. What was the Knight Foundation? Link Foundation, right? And she wanted to meet me. Why don't you finish?
Because you know there's always a story. This was leveraging investments in creativity, and they wanted to, you know, we do all we can to put on a good face and show them, yes, fund us, we're worthy. But they often want Tyree. They want to talk to him. And he does not care about the foundations. It's just, I was always worried about what he would say. So this particular woman wanted to talk to Tyree, and they got into a conversation, and then Tyree says to her, well, I just want you to know we're going to do this with or without you. And that is exactly why we got the grant.
Wow. I love it.
That's not typically the way it's done. But you see, sometimes you have to push the envelope. And that's all I'm saying is we have to push the envelope and stop sitting and waiting for the way it's normally done. And that's been my whole experience with Heidelberg.
Can we talk about the art? Oh, go ahead, Tyree.
I was going to mention too that in the morning, every day of my life, I start my day off with meditation every morning. Janine said to me it was 2 things that we needed. The first thing was we need 2 restrooms. So we have 2 restrooms. And then she said that I needed my man cave. So I have a man cave. And so every morning I get up and I go into my man cave to meditate, and I'm in there reading some philosophy or listening to some music or thinking every day. And then I spend time with her, and then we talk before I leave out to start my journey every day. That's what we do.
Every day is a journey. Can we talk a little bit about the artwork? We've noticed that there has been an evolution in style. You said that your earlier works and style was a little too simple, and you sort of graduated into a new kind of style. Can you talk more about that?
I'm just going to start this because when I first met Tyree, he did these amazing, beautiful, picture-perfect landscapes, which you'll see some of them tonight. And I remember always questioning whether he was a real artist. You know, I had that in me for about 2 years after I met him. I don't really know if he's an artist. So I asked him the question, I said, well gosh, if you paint it like this, then you wouldn't catch so much hell. And then he said to me, it's too easy.
Is Charles McGee in the room? I met Charles McGee, and I was a young college student at the College for Creative Studies, and I took a portfolio over for Charles to critique. I'll never forget this. I took a painting of it, and I put the painting on the easel, and Charles McGee stood back and he looked at it, and he started painting on it. And I said, what the hell is he doing? So he's painting on top of this painting. And you want to know what he said to me? He said, Tyree, the reason why I'm painting on your painting, over your painting, is because I have to undo, these are his words, what those white folks has done to you. Wow. Charles McGee said that.
Wow.
And then he began to talk about the spirit realm, and he began to talk about the Son of God, and he began to talk about music. And then Charles McGee also said something else to me. You want to know what he told me?
Yes.
He told me to lock myself up in my studio, which was on Heidelberg Street, for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. He said, smoke a joint, play some John Coltrane, Thelonious Monk, and then paint yourself naked. So I did it. And then the Heidelberg Project came to life, all because of Charles McGee.
I'm going to get to you, but there's a point that you made that I want to unpack, especially as we pursue our higher educations, in terms of who professors have us reading, who they have us learning from, the theory that we study, and who's authoring these books, whose philosophies are we studying. Any people of color?
As I look back, I remember in my days in art school, I knew nothing about black art. For the most part, I was exposed to people like Van Gogh and Picasso, and there was another artist, a New York artist by the name of Jim Dine. But it wasn't until I met people like Charles McGee and Romare Bearden that I began to see the importance of knowing about black artists. So yeah, so I was really thankful for Charles and what he did for me, because it opened my eyes up and made me think, okay, I want to understand black art, so yeah.
And we have to seek that out ourselves, I find. I went to a public white institution, and when we talk about cities and we read about cities, most of the people that I were reading, and just subconsciously didn't even realize it, about cities, particularly urban cities that are centers of black life, were not by black people. And I think that we need to re-emphasize this point of where if we're not getting it in higher education, we have to be intentional about going out and getting it elsewhere, so that our education, our knowledge base becomes a bit more broad and a tad bit more nuanced because it's needed, right? Yeah, okay, all right. We got a question over here.
My question is, first of all, I had the chance to be here last night in the art gallery, and looking at all of your art and creations, I looked at them and came up with my idea of what I thought they meant. But I would like to know from you, what was your inspiration? Like the one was the frame around it with the Bible on the floor. The ones that have the bed springs with the bath rolls behind them. What's your inspiration of it? I mean, I have an interpretation, but I would like to know yours.
Ruth, I believe, to the point that I know that we are all here for divine purpose. I found my purpose. I would say that, and Janine said it earlier, I have to hear it before I create a piece of work. The same energy that put the sun up there in the sky, it's in me. And that's why I do what I do. I'm talking about life. I'm talking about the way I see things. Not with these, but with this in here. So yes, it's him in me that makes me do this. And Dr. Smith, and I said something to you earlier, I wanted you to talk about the spiritual realm of life. So the spirit is in me, Ruth, that makes me do what I do. When I'm working on a piece of art, I'm in a whole nother zone where time is not important. Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Janine? Are you good? Okay, so...
and I told Janine I would paint her too, if I'm led by the Spirit.
Can you talk about the many faces that you paint? Who is behind those faces?
I would say the people, the everyday, common people. People I've met over the years, folks in the neighborhood. That's a series that I worked on called The Faces in the Hood. And I was talking about the people that I work with, the people that I see all the time. Broken people, sad people, happy people, people.
So I heard that you have created an insurmountable amount of studies on napkins, hotel stationery, just kind of anything you can get your hands on. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how and when and where you are inspired and what you use as a canvas?
All of it, everything. Oh yeah, everything. I love when I'm traveling, I'm on a plane and I'm just drawing away, and I want to go back to my man cave. I'm in there every day drawing, and I come here at times, I've been back there painting, but all the time. And Dr. Smith said, he mentioned this morning that every day he's creating art. So every day I'm creating art. It's life, it's food for my soul. So I have to create. And I have said that if I can't use my arms, then I'm gonna find a way to paint with my toes or my teeth or some kind of way. It's in me. I have to do it because I hear it.
So you'll see that process tonight. I just want it, you'll actually see it because the show tonight is called Process.
We got a question over here. Coming back.
I have another quick question. So you're on Heidelberg Street, every day. Can you talk about your perception, your experiences with all the people that come and visit? Because we don't get to see it through your eyes, we see you through ours. But what does Tyree's vision, what do you see, and what is your experience with all the people that visit on a daily basis?
Well, just I would say to you, I saw the need to, early on, to use the product as a magnet, as a bridge. And I said to myself, I want to do something that's never been done before. I'm going to use this art as a medicine, my art as a medicine, to connect us. When I see people coming, and it goes way back, and I remember this movie, Fields of Dreams. You build it, they will come. And I've given people a reason to come to the Heidelberg Project. I've heard so many stories of people have said to me that he was told by family folks and people in the suburbs not to come, but the Heidelberg Project made them come. Gives me a chance to talk. Gives me a chance to listen. And if there's no beauty, my job as an artist is to create beauty. Beauty that would make people come to see it. There on Heidelberg Street. It's also my way of changing the world.
And changing, I'm over here. And changing changing the landscape of Detroit and sort of being a part of the economic engine of the city of Detroit. Janine, would you like to talk a little bit more about that in terms of the revenue that the tourists brings when they visit the Heidelberg Project to the economy here in the city of Detroit?
So this is one of the hardest parts for me with the Heidelberg Project, the work that we've done, what we've accomplished. So Williams College in Cambridge, Massachusetts has an ongoing study of the economic impact of Heidelberg. And I think last time Jessica and I counted for 2017, it's like $7 million just the Wayne County region alone. And the way that translates is that when people are coming in to visit the Heidelberg Project, they're spending money on other things. They're seeing other cultural attractions. That is the exact value that we're talking about in the Artists Roundtable. That energy, that kind of income for the city is just one arts organization. What about the rest of them? So the bottom line is that when, how about I put it this way? Because this is going to speak to something, but I have to put it out there. We were told that if Tyree was a white man, he'd be wealthy, and the Heidelberg Project will be replicated all over the world. So, it's something to think about. And even though those conditions may exist, we still have to press forward because intelligence doesn't know a color. So we're still pressing forward, and we're going to pass the baton, if it doesn't happen to me in Tyree's lifetime, to demonstrate that art can impact and be an economic catalyst for our community.
It's already happening.
It is happening. I mean, 200,000 people annually, 144 countries. People would jump all over that and figure out how to quantify this, how to make it stronger, how to make it better.
Let me also say this, and this is so important, and I don't know if Kimberly's through here, but I was told by city government to leave.
What year was this?
It was under the, I can say this.
Yeah, tell it.
It was under the Archer administration.
Okay.
I was told to pack up and leave. City didn't want to deal with it, and too many people called in the mayor's office at that time, and so his press secretary came over to speak for him and wanted to have this conversation. He was a little intoxicated too, so you know, it gave him the courage to tell me, yeah, to speak up. And then I was told again by city government that I had too many white people coming. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So we have had our ups and downs with city government, but I said to city government, I said, I'm not going to stop this because it's working. It's working. So then they decided to come over one day and to put a counter, yeah, because they wanted to count the traffic flow of people that was coming. You know, we started having Greyhound buses, and we started having tour buses and school buses coming over. But if you don't have people, you don't have a city. And that's what I was conveying to the city government. And I also said to them, it's going to take all people. And I want you guys to know I believe that, you know, Black life matters and it's important, but all life matters in this particular time frame. So I saw the need to do something, to show the world the importance of us coming together to bring about this great change. Oh, we have, I was even told the city set the project on fire. Yeah, all kind of crazy stuff. And I remember getting a phone call one day from the Arch administration telling us to pack up. The mayor called us himself and said, pack up. I also shared with Janine that 2 months ago, the mayor from Newark came to visit me. He had just left the mayor's office here. And he said, the mayor has not been over to see you and to meet you. We were just talking about you. So he said, I'm going to bring you to Newark. I'm going to have you to do a project there in Newark. He said, I'm going to help you to help the mayor here in this city to understand the importance of art. If you don't have art, folks, you don't have life. Art is life and power to all people.
So can we talk a little bit, I want to build off of that. In addition to the Arsons that began in 2013, you've also had demolitions on part of the city, and I think 2 demolitions, right, by the city, beginning with the Coleman Young administration, and then these conversations, these back and forths with the different mayoral administrations at the time. And Janine, I want to ask you, how do you keep going when you have these really low lows, right? And they're really low. How do you get up from that?
Well, I did say it yesterday. It's not a reflection of me. It's not who I am. So it's just got to go through me. I just got to feel the pain, and tomorrow's a new day. That's it. Yeah, you do have to allow yourself to feel it. You can't deny it. And hurt and tears and every emotion is possible, but I'm still here.
You can run, but you can't hide. And there comes a time you have to challenge the boogeyman. No pain, no gain. You gotta go through something in life in order to tap into your greatness. You gotta learn how to fight. And that's what the city, over the years, the city, the demolitions, the fires, and as I sit here today, there's something inside of me now that says to me, no matter what, don't you stop, Grandpa Maggie. Oh, I won't forget those words. He said, don't stop. I don't care what they do. You burn it down. I don't care what they do. Don't you stop. I feel that way. And I think that it's important for us as people to understand you got to fight for what you believe in, for you.
I do want to add one thing to that. Where's Charles Anderson? One time I told Charles a story about somebody who wasn't playing nice with us. And you know what Charles said? Plug up the kids' ears. He said, they don't know who they're effing with. And he's right. I'm just saying. I just want to say to you, and I'm saying it to you too, because we forget who we are and what we're capable of, and we let situations and circumstances around us dictate who we are and what we're going to do. People make the world go round, not things, not processes. People. So we have to remember who we are, and that's the real key, I think, when we think about how we get up after we've fallen or after we've stumbled.
Also, I want to say that there's Maine Jackson, and I remember the city saying to me, how dare you challenge the city? And Maine Jackson was one of my witnesses. And we was on trial, and we all took the witness stand, and the city came in there, and they had 7 attorneys, and I think we had 2, and we was challenging city government. And so I'm mentioning Maine Jackson, pointing her out. It's because of people like her, it's people like Charles and Susan and Andy back there, and Randy and Janine's team over here. You need a team. You need a team of fighters that's not afraid to shake it up a little bit.
You need to fight, but you need...
I'm tired.
Okay.
Exhausted.
Okay, we got a question over here. You said this is the last question?
Ooh, I'm tired.
Okay.
I'm tired of talking.
So I think that's a perfect segue for, I'd love to hear you guys speak a little bit about some of the, what I call the unseen army of Heidelberg, which are the people who help out on site. And I know for me, since getting involved in being a board member, one of my favorite things to do is kind of show up completely unannounced at weird times at Heidelberg Street and plop down with a book and just see who's around working. Because could you speak a little bit more? Because I think a lot of people don't understand how many other people there are helping you out behind the scenes. And I think a lot of people don't see them.
I'm going to start with That's important what Jules is talking about, because remember the whole controversy about the community doesn't want it, community does, such crap. Because in a community like Heidelberg, if they really didn't want it, do you think it would survive? Isn't that a good question? Isn't that a good measuring rod? That's exactly how it survives. The people that live in the community are really some of the greatest champions. They're not here, they're still not quite comfortable enough to come to settings like this, but people like Link.
Link and Steve and David and Golok and Boogaloo and Silk and Troopers. When in my absence, I don't have to worry about the project because the folks in the neighborhood, they take care of the project in my absence. And so you make the people part of it. You get back to the people. And I saw the need of the Jews a long time ago, giving back and making the people part of it. But also I want to say this too, that the people who I have worked with over the years, what I'm doing is that I'm bringing the best out of them. Jesse, working with Link, and Link said to me the other day, he said, one thing I can say about you, Tyree, he said, I don't like what you say to me a lot of times. He said, but it makes sense, because what I say to Link, I tell Link all the time, you great and you don't know it, but we can see your greatness. Jesse can see his greatness. And it's those people that's been a real champion for the Heidelberg Project.
Yeah, they're often invisible though. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't count, like they don't matter. They just fell on hard times and didn't know how to get back up.
And also they make excuses, you know. Yeah. Like we had David to come to the pig roast the other night. We invited him and it made him feel good, you know. And so I've come to understand that if you can't say something good, if you can't bring the good out in people, then don't say nothing. So you give back, and the more you give, the more you receive. And it's those people, it's these people, it's you guys. Together we can change the world. So yes, it's people.
I understand that we've been up for a long time. You have a question over there?
Dr. Smith.
Okay. Oh, Doc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, listening to this event, it seems difficult for me to perceive that being who you are and what you have done, to have the difficulties that you have. I find that impossible to believe, but I'm hearing it, and I think it's a call to the people to say, well, what are we gonna do? We got a Robin Hood here that's not have no more arrows, and how will we deal with this war that's going on? It doesn't make sense to me. I was listening at the city when they was here, and looked like someone was saying, well, you supposed to be his main supporters. You supposed to be the main bank that he goes to. You supposed to sign the draft for the National Endowment of the Arts to give them the money that he needs to keep doing what he's doing. Nobody else is at that level, not in folk art. And that's the capital statement that the lady was making. Art is sales in Detroit. The D control it, and that's the way it should be. And I think the people need to rise up and see that and stop meeting and talking and meeting on what they met on.
Meeting about the meeting. We got one more comment over here.
I have a question about when you use other media, and I'm specifically talking about the Los Angeles train station, the Vermont Beverly station. I don't know if everyone knows he doesn't only paint or throw junk together.
the Vermont Beverly Station. Will you tell us how that came to be? It's one of the most beautiful mosaics you have ever seen. Will you tell us about that, please?
Well, it started with my agent here.
Please make sure you tell them that that's the first thing you ever and have only written a proposal for.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, okay. So yes, mostly everything we've ever done has been by invitation outside of Detroit. But I did want to test what it would be like to compete. So I did write and compete for Tyree transforming the Beverly Hills LA substation. And he designed and created this concept called People in Motion using shoes, soles. So he designed the concept, and then we worked with a mosaic. And so if you ever go to California and you're in the Beverly Hills substation, you will see a beautiful plaque and a substation that's Tyree shoes all throughout the window, made out of beautiful mosaic. This is true. We did do that. We have done so much, I don't even know what we've done anymore, but we've done a lot. Yes, we did.
Well, Anita, I also want to mention, I love working with Janine. The project in China, and we just did something up in Grand Rapids that was in conjunction with Art Prize.
And we won.
So yeah, it's important to switch up at times. It's important to try other materials to see what's possible. So in that case, the train station, I saw that as a great opportunity to explore and to see what could come out of that. And so, what a great time. That project, Janine and myself, and even the project in China, we took on I designed it here and sent architectural drawings to China, and when we got there, everything was kind of waiting on us. I wanted to try something new, so and it was really interesting working with the Chinese. I mean, it was really interesting. Yeah.
It was hard. Tyree loved me more than ever in China.
I'm glad you was not there by yourself.
I know.
Let me tell y'all real quick. In this particular part of Shenzhen, China, they had never really seen African-American women because they had all the villagers basically building up that city of Shenzhen. I was such a spectacle. I had Chinese men this close to my face, just, they had never, and then there was a little girl who wanted to know why a woman had freckles, and she was trying to, scratch the freckles off. It was quite an experience, but I was a spectacle, and it was just amazing. Tyree was going to have to fight after a while.
One last story. Ma'am, I would never forget the time we went to South America together. And Janine met this guy over there. Yeah, I know you love a good story. Sherry, you met this guy over there, and he came to the apartment, the hotel. And he was out there, he was playing his guitar.
A long time ago.
A long time ago. But he was trying to talk to her because he wanted her to bring him back to the United States.
I wasn't married to you.
Huh?
I wasn't married to you.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. But we was pretending we was married because we was dating, right?
I guess.
Yeah. But those are stories. One story that I remember, this guy playing, and he was standing, and he was upstairs on the balcony, and you stuck your head. Yeah, it was unbelievable. And he was singing to you too, and I just got a laugh all the time. Yeah.
See, what Tyree is really trying to tell you guys is this is why we wound up getting married. We both lived, ate, slept, and drank this work. There was really no time to date anybody else, and then if somebody looked like they were interested, he had a problem with it. So there you go, right? That's how it happens. I could tell my stories too about the waitress, air waitress in the sky. Don't tell me start.
I want one. Give us a good one. Tell her, Janine. Go on and tell us about the waitress.
woman. I call her an air waitress. I won't give her name, but she came to Tyree with a concept for a polka dot 747.
Okay.
Ain't never wrote a proposal a day in her life. Don't have a clue. She wanted the polka dot man. And I wasn't having it. We were not married. We were not married, but these are all the beginnings of how we knew that we were going to, I guess, end up together.
Wow.
And it's been great. It's been fantastic.
It looks like it. It's such a...
It's been great. It's been fantastic. We have had some great time. We have had wonderful time. We have traveled around the world. We have met people from... Oh, it's been incredible. It's been incredible. And if I die tomorrow, I have no regrets. And Janine, I would have to say to you, this partnership it's unbelievable. What we have done and where we plan to go. Yeah. My best friend.
Can we give them a hand, everybody? I mean, what a fantastic time. Come on, we can do better than that. Tyree Knight, Dr. Janine Whitfield, everybody. Thank y'all so much for being so transparent.